What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video. So today I'm working on Frank, the CTS-V drift car, and what we're gonna do is cut out the rad support. So CTS-V, at least the first gens, have a welded in rad support, so there's no way to remove it off the car, and having a removable rad support helps a lot when it comes to having to work on the front of the engine. Now, this is gonna make it a lot easier for me to pull the motor and trans, and you know, if I ever have to do it down the line, God hope you don't, but in turn it's going to allow me modify the radiator similar to a way I saw done by the Vorschlag guys on a road racing V that they're currently building. So it'll allow me to tilt the radiator forward so that the rad will kind of sit out here with the AC condenser and all of that, and it's something I know you guys have seen me talk about or heard me talk about in the past. So what it's going to require me to do is remove everything off the front end. I'm gonna have to take the crash beam off here because there's supports that go up to the rad support that kind of all bolt in together. We're just gonna let the power steering cooler drop down, the horns, the ECU, everything. All this stuff on the front end of the car is gonna have to come off. So we'll basically just start by undoing these nuts on the backside and get the tubular piece here, or the square piece of aluminum crash bar, off the car. All right, so the crash beam is off, ECU is out. This is what I was talking about with putting the ECU up in here. I should be able to, if I cut the loom down there, get the wiring to extend up here and mount on the shock tower. But everything's out, power steering, cooler is just dangling there. And I'm gonna go ahead with the Sawzall here and cut basically right on the outside of these circles on the rad support. And this thing will all fall, and then the hood latch is off with the hood latch cable, and I'll end up yanking that through the firewall once I disconnect it from the release.
Oh, that was like really fast.
Yeah, this thing's aggressive. Holy crap. I'm actually gonna remove this wire a little bit further down just because I don't want to hit it. Look at that. It's going. Now it's really open. So basically now that does exactly what I said earlier, is it opens up the engine bay to make sliding the motor and trans out a lot easier, and gives access to the ABS pump and all this other stuff, just to make things easier. By doing all that.
Oh, Christ. Blooper.
Devin can't buy the BRZ, so he can't bring himself to it.
Good.
Don't buy
Good for you,
BRZs.
Devin. You don't need that.
So by doing all of this, I free up a lot of space up here. The bash bar is gonna come out here. I'm just gonna have a power steering cooler, an oil cooler like I do on the black car, and then these whole areas out on the sides are gonna be empty, no washer fluid tank, no ECU. And I know for sure I'll be able to get the ECU here. By moving the rad forward, it kind of alleviates my concern of the ECU and the air filter having enough space, but by moving the ECU up onto the shock tower here, it gives a little more room between the throttle body and the radiator to route an intake pipe and kind of go more towards behind the headlight. All right, guys, we're jumping back into this a few days later. I had some stuff come in, most importantly, my rib nut tool here. And I ended up putting the inserts in on the rad support and screwing that down to the existing rad support. Next, what I need to do is drill out the holes here for the actual radiator mounts and put the inserts in there. I'm struggling with the inserts on these, so hopefully the ones for these guys go a little smoother, because it just, I don't know, it was acting up a little weird. But once that's done, then, and this is like mounted for good, I'll be able to just pull all this stuff off. Now I brought the black V in, got it up on front stands. I need to go buy 2 more jack stands to get the rear up in the air to match this. But the drive shaft is going to come out of this, the exhaust is going to get dropped off, and I'm gonna try and figure out what that issue was. That crazy like whining noise on the highway. I also hung the new bumper on the black car. I gotta get rid of my mounts on the sides here, but this is the new black bumper that I have for it. And I'm gonna go back to like a factory mount style on it. And when the car gets raised up just a tiny bit, I'll probably just have to trim a little bit of this, but these factory mounts will hold it all in place. So there's going to be a lot of part swapping going on between both cars. Like this car already got the bash bar fitted up, and again, that's just another one of those. I wanted to make sure it fit and all that. Obviously it's going to get painted a different color, but once the rad was done, all this front end stuff is coming back off, and I'm going to focus back on getting the motor ready to be pulled. Everything is basically good on the top side. It's just a matter of disconnecting the exhaust and the motor mounts down below. I already disconnected the drive shaft from the transmission, and then the transmission mounts have like just 2 bolts hanging them on, just to wait until everything else is pretty much ready to go. So what I start out by doing is using the punch, marking my hole, drilling a 1/4 inch hole right there, and then I get this stepped drill bit, and the instruction manual for the rib nut tool tells you what size the hole has to be. So this hole is going to be, the insert is a 1/4-20, so the drill hole size has to be 3/8, which is the 3rd notch up. So then basically I'll just sit here. There's one. Oh, that's the second one. And that's the 3rd notch for a 3/8 inch hole. Go ahead and repeat on the other side. And using a bit like this gives you a much cleaner hole at the end of the day. So once that's done, I got my rib nut tool loaded up here. Put it in and squeeze. With the nut cert in, then all I do is I get my new bolt here, line it up, and just like that, I have a mounted radiator on this side, and I'll do this side as well. And we have ourselves a removable aluminum rad support with the radiator mounted up about 2.5 inches or so further forward than the stock location. Now this crank pulley's pulled out a good amount. It's almost off the crank snout. So we're gonna have a pretty good amount of room, even after the water pump is on and the power steering pump, because all that stuff goes in line with this pulley right here. We're gonna have a lot of room. I could reach all the way down to the bottom of the engine bay if need be. And that's kind of what I was going for. Additionally, I'm gonna try and duct this area as well as I can on the sides and at the top of the bumper, because, and also at the bottom, because I would like to ideally have the airflow come in through the grill. I mean, the V grills are huge, so it's perfect for, you know, having a lot of airflow. But my goal is to have the air come in, and then since this is angled up, have a hood vent and have the air go out the hood vent over across the top of the motor to help, you know, promote some good cooling properties with this whole setup. My goal with this car is to try and keep stock parts like this that could be potential fail points. So if the car breaks, one, it's cheaper to fix, and two, the parts are more available, and you know, I wouldn't really be stranded at the track and just being like, oh, I need to order a new one off of Summit Racing in the morning and have it on Tuesday. So that's kind of the whole approach I'm taking with this build, while being a serious approach. I just want to try and maintain serviceability. Same with keeping the stock fuel tank and all that. Mitsubishi, if I kill a fuel pump on the Mitsubishi, I need to go get another 044 Bosch. Chances of a local store having 044 is slim to none, but this car, keeping the stock fuel tank assembly, like all that stuff. So I'll quit rambling on here. Next step is just, as much as I want to just sit here and look at it and be like, oh cool, it's done. Now I just got to rip all this stuff off and then get under the car and keep working on getting the exhaust off. Jump jumping back into it right quick here. I have the engine supported. I got everything under the trans, disconnected, drive shaft, the exhaust is out there. And then I got some scissor jacks under the front subframe. So what I'm gonna do is drop the front subframe down on those scissor jacks, and then I should be able to bring everything out together. That'll give me some room for the motor and trans to wiggle through. So I'm gonna set a time lapse up here and get after it. Days since I tried pulling this motor out, and I got it out, but I was exhausted. Was it like last Friday or something like that, I ended up pulling the motor and stuff out, and I kind of just left the garage an absolute mess. So I'm out here today and taking the time. I got some sandwich bags. I'm bagging and tagging everything that I had put aside for all the accessories that came off the motor, out of the engine bay and whatnot, putting tools away and just starting to really get organized again and cleaned up so that I can start on the next part of this project. So the engine and transmission are sitting here perpendicular to the car, just kind of resting on the hoist, but the front subframe is still down there and it's like all tangled up. So I'm gonna get the front subframe, the suspension and stuff off of it, and kind of just have room and, you know, get the subframe, drag it out here. I want to do the 5-lug swap on the subframe and then get the subframe back into the car, because once I do the 5-lug swap all around, I'm going to bring this thing down to works, get it up on the trailer, bring it down to works, get this entire engine bay a heavy power washing, just so that we have a clean slate to start with, and then we can really start diving into prepping and painting the engine bay and deleting any stuff out of here that we're not going to need. So with that being said, I'm going to have to get the motor and trans out of the way here as well. Still waiting on the gasket kit for the motor to come in, and then I'm going to have to order a clutch at some point for the trans. But we're kind of at a good point. I'm not going to dive into the motor and trans just yet. I kind of want to just put that to the side and then really get the chassis dialed in, you know, get these fenders swapped from car to car, get this engine bay all painted up and cleaned up. Same with the front subframe, really degrease that and get that all cleaned up, and then get the chassis to be 100%. We got wiring work to do both under the hood here, which is cleaning things up, reluming stuff, getting rid of the plastic loom and all that, tucking things differently. And then we have some interior work to do. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Thank you guys for watching. Next up on the list, like I just said, is gonna be engine-based stuff, but I really need to get organized here. I have stuff everywhere. I feel like I have a bigger garage, but I don't have much room because I'm just getting cluttered again, and I hate that feeling. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We're going drifting next weekend, or this weekend coming up in Orlando. Obviously you saw the last video. We weren't able to go drifting at the Freedom Factory. They pushed it back to October. So the 3000's up in the front garage, it's pretty much ready to rock and roll. So we're gonna go down to OSW this weekend coming, and I'm really excited to finally get some seat time again in the car and to get some content, some drifting content back on the channel. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one, and peace out.